Okay, I'm back with part two of the books that I've read from the New York Times 100 Best Books of the 21st Century as voted on by readers. This is different from the bigger list they put out about books as voted on by authors. These are going to be the books that I've read that were from slot 50 to slot number one. I've read 20 of the 100 books in all, so here we go. In slot number 49, Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. A woman goes missing, all signs point to her husband, then you get to part two. Love it or hate it, I think this book got a generation reading again. In slot number 47, Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. A brilliant scientist learns over and over that it makes people unhappy if you science while female. She eventually finds an outlet as a female out in brown. This book pissed me off a lot, but I liked the portrayal of this clearly neuroatypical genius in this 1960s America. In slot number 44, The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I put this one on here even though I DNF'd it because I did read a good portion of it. In the 1970s in Pennsylvania, a skeleton is found in a well. Flashback to the 1920s and 30s to the interesting and vibrant community of Chicken Hill, which was a place that blended both Black and Jewish residents. I can see why people like this book and why it is touted as a really good book. There were just so many characters that it got tedious, and I just found myself not wanting to pick it up. At some point, I hope I go back and read it, but that's my thought. In slot number 40 is The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini. Amir, a young boy growing up in Afghanistan, one day witnesses an extremely traumatic incident involving his best friend, who is the son of his family's servant. The event irreparably severs their friendship, and Amir spends the rest of his life under the weight of guilt and seeking redemption. This book changes your neural pathways. It's so good, definitely on my top books of all time. In slot number 31 is Circe by Madeline Miller. It's the origin story of the witch who changes men to swine in the Odyssey. A young woman is trampled on by every male in her life and finally banished to an island with other female exiles until she finally says, "Fuck all y'all," and begins to live her best life. It is stunning. It has definitely also moved onto my list of favorite books of all time. In slot number 30 is A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. This is 13 interrelated stories, all sort of hovering around a record executive named Benny Salazar. I read this a very long time ago, and honestly, I've forgotten a lot of it. I actually had to Google because I really forgot it. I remember I enjoyed reading it at the time, but it hasn't really stuck with me. My husband also read it, and I was talking with him about it last night, and he said what he liked about it is that it kind of brought up all this, like, cultural knowledge that maybe not everybody has, and it kind of like brought it into the mainstream of like New York Times readers. So he appreciated that about it, and I guess that's true. It didn't really stick with me, but it is a fun book to read. In slot number 27, one of my favorites, Normal People by Sally Rooney. Y'all know I love this one. A young man from a very small town in Ireland becomes connected to a young woman, the town's outcast, because his mother works for hers. They begin a love affair in secret, and the choices that get made in that first few months reverberate throughout their lives as they move through college and beyond, in and out of each other's orbits. Sad, but hopeful, and just stunning. In slot number 9 is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. A young woman recounts her time at a strange English boarding school with her two closest friends while they worked together to uncover the truth about their existence and their place in the world. Heartbreaking, but these characters will inhabit your soul. In slot number 8 is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. Two young local girls meet in 1950s Naples and become both friends and rivals, navigating parents, school, crushes, toxic masculinity, the reality of being a young woman in the 50s, all that fun stuff. I've never read 4 books in succession so quickly. This is a very special series. In slot number 7, another commonly talked about book for me, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Sam and Sadie meet in middle school while Sam is in the hospital, and they bond over their shared love of Super Mario. They remain friends through college and later create a video game together that garners wild success, launching them into starting their own company. The characters in this book are some of the best I've ever read. The writing is stunning. I promise your interest in video games will increase like 100-fold. And finally, in slot number 5 is the book I am currently reading, which is Pachinko by Min Jin Lee. I can already tell why this book is so high up on this list. A young woman in Korea in the early 1900s finds herself with child and makes a choice, and the pieces fall into place. I don't really want to tell you too much about the plot because I don't know everything that has happened yet, but this book is so beautiful without being too flowery or heavy. It gives exposition without really giving exposition. It teaches you about the time period and the place without being heavy on the historical part of the historical fiction. It has a very folktale-y feel, but with very, very real, relatable characters. I know this one is going to be up there for me. I'm really enjoying reading it, and I totally get why it's here. So that's it. The other 40 books have been added to my TBR if they weren't already there, and I will talk about them as I read them, and I'll see you next time. Bye.